Now we are about to start the next presentation. So, the next presenter will be our colleague Thierry Parin-Luc. The title of the presentation is Corrosion Fatigue Crack Initiation Model of martensitic stainless steels in the regime of high cycle fatigue.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, my talk is the results of the PhD work of Mohamed Elmeh, who is the first co-author, who is now a research engineer in my lab, and I would like to thank also my colleagues Nicolas Sentier and Olivier Devos. So the aim of this study is in fact to better understand the corrosion fatigue crack initiation properties of martensitic stainless steel used in aircraft aeronautics to produce the actuator of the drive of aircraft or these components of the blades of the turbine. So it has been done in cooperation with the Ratier-Figeac company and Aubert et Duval and Olympus in France. So in order to better understand the behavior of this steel, we have developed a crack initiation fatigue test in situ with electrochemical measurements, and the aim of my presentation is to propose you a brief presentation of this experimental device and to present you an analytical model developed based on these experimental results in order to predict the crack initiation in high cycle fatigue. So after this brief introduction, the plan of my presentation is the following. I'm presenting the material and the experimental conditions first, then you will see the results, and the main aim of the talk is the presentation of the model based on these results before to conclude and to see some prospects. So the material investigated is martensitic stainless steel, chromium, nickel, molybdenum, and vanadium, with high mechanical properties, with a yield strength around 1000 megapascal. And this martensitic stainless steel has the following characteristic microstructure with a prior austenitic grain size around 100 micrometers. I have to emphasize on the fact that it has a very low residual austenite contents, probably around 1%. I say probably because the accuracy for determining this residual austenite contents is 1%, so we know 1% plus or minus 1%. That's why it's 2%. This is very important because this is a soft phase, which are very low property, which is critical for the crack initiation. You can see here the electrochemical properties of this material. In vertical axis, the electrochemical current, and in the horizontal, the potential, and you can see that the passivation domain is between minus 250 millivolt up to here on the right more than 300 millivolt, and the characteristic activation corrosion peak here is around minus 400 millivolt, corresponding to the corrosion of ferrous. So this is very important to understand the behavior in fatigue corrosion. I will come back on that. So the experimental condition we used, we carried out a high cycle fatigue test up to 10 to the 7 cycles, 10 million cycles. So to do that, we did two types of tests at 120 Hz on a vibroform machine and at 10 Hz to investigate the frequency effect with the servo-hydraulic testing machines under tension with two loading ratio, fully reversed, and 0.1. Two types of environment were tested in air, laboratory air, and in an aqueous solution with 0.1 mole of NaCl plus an inhibitor of corrosion in order to be representative of aeronautic conditions. And we have developed in situ electrochemical cell that you can see here. So this is a vibrophore testing machine, and here you have a zoom on the specimen in the corrosive aqueous solution. And you can see here the saturated Calomel electrode and the counter electrode in platinum and the specimen that is under corrosion fatigue. So with this electrochemical in situ measurement during cyclic loading, we are able, by doing impedance measurements, to characterize what is the electrochemical behavior of the material under cyclic loading at different steps of its life. So let's now see the results. First, we will see the corrosion fatigue crack initiation mechanisms based on the results that I will show you, and the in situ electrochemical measurements. So first, the SN curve that we obtain. So I show you here the R equal -1, but it's approximately the same tendency for R equal 0.1. The most important thing is that you can see here at the top here the SN curve in air, and you can see at the bottom here the SN curve in aqueous solution. So you can see there is a very severe corrosion effect, a severe drop of the fatigue strength at 10 million cycles due to the corrosions. The crack initiates on the characteristic pits. You can see here large pits emanating from the surface. And you can see that the scatter is reasonable. The dashed line corresponds to the survival probability curves at 10 and 90%. So the repeatability of the test is very good for usual corrosion fatigue crack test. You can see also that if you compare the triangle here and the cross that corresponds to the test at 100 Hz and 10 Hz, that the frequency effect is very low, even if we have a factor of 10 between the two types of tests. So even at 100 Hz, the corrosion effect in situ with the fatigue loading is very important. And what we can see if we look at the test during the fatigue loading, when we have recording the potential of the specimen, so you have here the free potential of the specimen versus time, and here simultaneously you have a schematic illustration of the cyclic loading. So the procedure was the following. At the beginning of the test, we put the specimen without any loading in the liquid, and we wait for the stabilization of the potential. You can see here the stabilization of the potential around 150 millivolt, and then we start the cyclic loading, and periodically we record the potential. So you can see as soon as the loading starts, there is a sharp decrease of the free potential and the stabilization around -400 millivolt, corresponding to the peak activation and the corrosion of ferrous. And after a certain number of cycles that we call ND, like N depassivation, corresponding to the depassivation of the steel, there is a stabilization and the corrosion of the material surface. And after again a number of cycles, noted NC, like N corrosion, there is a crack initiation and the specimen is broken. So, in fact, what is important to understand is that, in fact, the total fatigue life, NF, is the sum of two periods, the depassivation and the corrosion. So it is important to understand that these two phenomena are successive. First, there is depassivation, and when the material is depassivated, then there is corrosion. If we look at the duration of the depassivation time, that is plotted here, not in number of cycles, but in hour, but it is equivalent here, versus the stress amplitude applied to the specimen. On the right here, you have the SN curve, the stress amplitude, so this value, versus the number of cycles. At the bottom here, this is a fully reversed loading, and on the bottom here, this is R equals 0.1. And the open symbols here at the top corresponds to the test in air, here in red in aqueous solution, and the same here for R equals 0.1 in air, and below in red in aqueous solution. So what we can see that if you decrease the stress amplitude, here, of course, the fatigue life increase, and here, if you decrease, the depassivation time increase. It means that when you decrease the stress amplitude, the time needed to break the passive layer on the material is increasing significantly. And if you decrease very much, for instance here, you have no depassivation after 10 million cycles. So in fact, the fatigue strength at 10 to the 7 corresponds in fact to a threshold of no depassivation. It means that probably if you increase the number of cycles, maybe to 10 to the 8 or more, probably there is no infinite fatigue life. Finally, there is probably a depassivation. So the main conclusion of this test is that whatever the loading ratio, r equals -1 or 0.1, there is a threshold corresponding to no depassivation of the material. So probably the crack initiation mechanisms is the following, and I will explain in the next slide why I propose these crack initiation mechanisms, which is not very original. That is, first there is the material with the passive layer. First you load in cyclic loading, and because of the slips plane and the plasticity occurring in the grain, which is with the best orientation, there is initiation of intrusion, extrusion at the surface, and finally extrusion breaks the passive layer. And then, as soon as there is a fresh surface appearing, there is a corrosion of this fresh surface, the initiation of a pits, and when the pits is large enough, there is the initiation of a crack. And then the crack initiates, propagates, and you know the story. So, the local fracture of the passive film, which is very responsible of the first phase as depassivation. There is no fracture of the passive film if you are loading exactly at the fatigue strength at 10 to the 7. I do not talk about fatigue limit, because I don't know if there is a limit, but there is a fatigue strength at 10 to the 7. And if the loading is below this level, there is no depassivation, so no fatigue crack. And there is no significant effect of the frequency, so it means it's not a problem which is governed by physical time, but which is governed by the number of cycles, I mean the number of reversals necessary to produce intrusion and extrusion. So now, if we go to the model proposed in order to predict the crack initiation, first, quickly, I will remind you two important results from literature for the tests which are doing in low cycle fatigue regime, which is very different from high cycle fatigue test, because in low cycle fatigue there is macroscopic plasticity and the loading characteristic time is long, is high compared to the repassivation time. So it means when there is the appearance of a fresh surface due to, for instance, an extrusion, before the end of the cyclic loading, before the end of one loading, one cycle, there is a time for repassivation. So it has been shown in many studies, for instance, by Manien and other co-workers. But if you increase the cyclic loading, it's very different. There is also a competition. If you increase the frequency, it's a little bit different because the characteristic time is different, and there is a competition with another thing, that is the competition with the pit growth and the short crack propagation. I mean, when you have the corrosion of the new fresh surface, there is a creation of a pit, and these pits could be assimilated to a crack, and in this case, the fatigue crack initiation is governed by the competition with the repassivation time and the crack propagation emanating from the pits. So it means there is a competition between corrosion kinetics and the cyclic loading frequency in this case. So what we propose in our case, based on these results from literature and on our observation of two characteristic periods, depassivation and corrosion, and the fact that there is a threshold corresponding to the fatigue strength at 10 to the 7th, we propose that we consider an effective stress range corresponding to the applied stress minus the threshold. So this is this efficient stress that provokes the crack initiation. And to break the passive film, we use the following equation relating the cumulated plastic strain appearing at the surface due to extrusion appearance. It has been shown by Gerberich. It is related to the plasticity range and the number of cycles to failure. And this plastic strain, can be evaluated by the famous Rambert-Osgood equation in order to be able to correlate the number of cycles and the cumulated plastic strain at the surface. So in this case, combining this equation and this one, we obtain this equation relating the number of cycles to depassivation the plasticity cumulated at the surface, the shear modulus, the Burger vector B, and the height of the emergence of the extrusion at the surface that can be measured by Auger probe analysis. In our material, it's 3 nanometer. So in this case, it's possible to compute, depending on the effective stress, the number of cycles to depassivation. And since after depassivation there is corrosion, we need to compute the number of cycles for corrosions. So to do that, we have modeled the pits growth by the following equation. The effective area of the pits is the square root area, classically proposed, for instance, by Murakami. So you have a pit with an area perpendicular to the principal stress. So we investigate the volume of this material that is corroded by the following equation. There is a thickness E in the area. So this volume is destroyed by corrosion. And with the Faraday law, we can correlate the current of corrosion, E, with the volume of material destroyed versus time. And when the pit is created, this volume of pits is propagating due to corrosion, and the critical size of these pits for emanating a crack has been identified by a fatigue test on the pre-corroded materials. So in this case, we can identify this equation, and the combination of this equation and this one lead to this one. In this case, you can correlate the number of cycles to corrosion with the electrochemical parameters here, that is the Faraday constant, the material density. Here, the rate of corrosion and the current of corrosion. So with these two equations, we are able to identify the different parameters based on the 1SN curve. So here, this is a test for R equal -1 at 120 Hz. So with this test, we identify all the parameters and we obtain this curve. And now, if we want to test the accuracy and the capability of the model, we compare its prediction with the test for R equals 0.1. In this case, we obtain this prediction. So it means that the model is very good because we are able to predict, based on R equal -1, we are able to predict the value under R equals 0.1, and we are also able to predict the frequency effect. Here, for instance, I plot the fatigue test at 10 Hz. This is the square point here. And because in our model, the time and the frequency appear, because in order to corrode the material during the depassivation time, you need a time which is frequency dependent, of course. In this case, you have the frequency effect, which is in good agreement with our experimental data. So, as a conclusion, what we can say is that we have developed in situ electrochemical measurements during fatigue test at different frequency, 10 Hz or 120 Hz. And it has been shown that the corrosion fatigue in the high cycle fatigue regime, not in low cycle fatigue, I emphasize on that because there are not many tests in high cycle fatigue regime, is very synergetic phenomena. There is a strong coupling between the depassivation time needed to break the passive film on the stainless steel and the number of cycles and the stress amplitude. It has been shown that in fact the crack initiation phenomena is the coupling of the local fracture of the film and the growth of the pits and then its propagation. So as prospects, the first important things probably is to study the effect of the cyclic loading on the local corrosion process, I mean the local current of corrosion, this value here, because up to now we assume that this current of corrosion is constant, whatever the cyclic stress amplitude. Probably it is depending on the stress amplitude because it's probably depending on the local plastic strain, but it has to be investigated for future work. So I thank you for your attention, and many details are given in these two papers that you can read if you want additional information.
Thank you very much. And now